What is up, YouTube? This is DBZ439 coming at you with a very fun and interesting budget deck, and that is Fluffals. I've been playing this deck for a while, and I proclaim myself to being one of the best Fluffle players in the world. I've managed to figure out a build to where you can play it in this meta. Quite frankly, I do well against the meta with this deck. The only problem I have is if you get drolled, then that's a problem. But we have an answer for that. And so, without any further ado, let's get on with the deck profile. So starting off with the monsters, we run the 3-dog. Basically, whenever it's summoned, you get to search a Fluffle monster, or an edge-up card, or the Sabers card. And he's level 4, he's an Earth, and we'll get into that later. Next we run the 3-bear, and some people run 2 of this. I totally disagree. You have to run 3 of this card. You need to see Toy Vendor. When this card's, you can discard this card from your hand to set a Toy Vendor from your deck. And his second effect is kind of cool. Like if you normal summon this, you can like recycle a polymerization from your graveyard. So that's really good. So yeah, and then I run the 3 wings. Now, I see some people running 2 of this. No, you need to run 3 of this. Multiple reasons. These 2 cards are the key to your victory. If you can resolve the wings and the bear effect, like you're going to win the duel. It's a +3, +1000, whatever you call it. It's really good. Also, it's a light, so it's a brilliant fusion target. And but I will say something though, that in desperate situations, I will side a copy out because you only need to resolve it once. Other than that, like it's pretty useless. So yeah. Next, I run the double penguin. I see some people running 3. You don't need to run 3 of this card. 2's fine. When this card is summoned, you can summon another Fluffle monster from your hand to the field. It can be used for extra link, or you can use it for rank 4. So if they make you go first, like I usually go penguin, and then summon the dog from my hand, and then go into like Baguska, stall a turn, and then OTK. Also, when this card is used for a fusion material, you draw 2 cards and discard 1 card, so that's really good. And it's a strike dodger. So that's also really good because let's say you summon Fright for Tiger and use this as a fusion material. Fright for Tiger would be Chain Link 1 and then Fluffle Penguin would be Chain Link 2. And so if they were to negate something, it'd have to be the Penguin, unless if they affect Veiler or Permanence you, that's one thing. But this card's really good though. I really like that too. Next I run the 1 sheep. Sheep is pretty good. If you control a Fluffle monster, you can special summon this card from your hand for free. And you can bounce a Fluffle monster from your side of the field to special summon an edge-up monster from your graveyard. So this card, the reason why we run it is because 1, it's an Earth, and 2, it helps for links. And it makes a lot of combos, a lot of plays, because you may need to summon your edge-up monster from your graveyard to further extend your plays, so that's really good. Last for the Fluffle monsters, I'll run the 1 owl. I side the second one. This card's good. When this card's summoned, you get to search a poly, and then his second effect is you can pay 500 life points to fusion summon a Fluffle monster using from cards from your field or hand. And so this is an anti-spell Fragrance Dodger. So that's the reason why I run it. That's why I run the second copy. Other than that, you really don't need to run more of this. It's also Earth, so it can be used for Mrs. Radiant. There's a lot of other things about this card. Oh yeah, you can only use one of the effects once per turn. You can't do both. So yeah. Next for the edge-ups, I run 3 chain. This card, I really like this card. Reason being is because if this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard, you can search a Fright for Fusion or a Fright for Factory, and that helps further extend your plays. It's also level 4. And yeah, next for the last of the edge-ups, I only won the 1 Sabers. Some people run 2. You do not need to run 2 of this card. 1 is perfectly fine. Also, a real neat thing with this card, if you have a Gem Knight Tourmaline card in your hand, you can send that card to the top of your deck, special summon this from the graveyard, then you can resolve Brilliant Fusion if you have it in your hand. There's other cards, there's other utilities with this card. You just gotta be smart about it. But yeah, I just run 1 of that, and then next I run 2 King of the Swamps. I'm debating if I want to bump it up to 3, but so far 2 is fine. You can discard to search a polymerization, and it can be used to be a fusion material for any of your Fright for monsters, except for cards like Kraken, because Kraken's a generic. It has to be a specific one, for example, like tigers and sheep, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I just run 2. And then for the 1-ups, I run the 1 Trick Clown and 1 Tourmaline for the Brilliant. You can run Garnet if you want, but I only had the Tourmaline. So yeah, I just run him. And the Trick Clown. Now, Trick Clown is key. If you have Toy Vendor, you can discard this card and resolve Toy Vendor's effect, and then special summon this card for free. You can also use it for Brilliant Fusion. You can also send it with Foolish Burial. The only reason why you run this is for your links, and it's for level 4 as well. Just a lot of utility with the deck, so this card's key. But I will say I do side it out sometimes, depending on the matchup. That's it for the monsters. And next for your spells, I run the Triple Toy Vendor. Really good card. You can discard a card and draw a card, and if it was a Fluffal monster, you can special summon any monster from your hand. However, if it's not, then you have to discard to the graveyard. The amount of combos you can do with this card is insane. But the main thing is resolving the Bear and the Wings to get the +3. That is absolutely key to OTK your opponents. Next, you run the Triple Brilliant Fusion. Oh my god, this card looks so nice and secret. Helps you get out the Seraphonite. We'll talk about Seraphonite when we get there, but also allowing to dump the Fluffal Wings to also resolve the Toy Vendor or the Trick Clown to extend your plays to summon more Link monsters. You know, it has so much utility with the deck. Also, Fright for Factory can banish this card, so it can act as a polymerization, which is the next card. I run 3 polymerization. Now, some people run the 3rd poly as a fusion substitute or dark fusion. I personally don't like those cards. I like polymerization. And just look at the artwork, and that explains it itself. Next, I run the double Fright for Fusion. It's your Miracle Fusion. You can only activate once per turn, so that sucks. But you need to see this card to resolve your OTK or whatnot. Next, I run the double Foolish Burial to send the Toy Vendor to the deck or to the graveyard to get a free search. So that's why I run 2. You don't need to run 3 because then it gets too cloggy. But resolving it's really nice. Then I run the double Twin Twister. Yeah. At first I put this in my side, but I realized how good this card is because you can discard cards from your hand. It wouldn't even matter. And if they have back row like strikes or warning or whatever, you get to destroy those cards. And yeah, I mean, in fact, it was kind of funny because I resolved the Fluffal Wings play, it drew into a Twin Twisters, and then the guy flipped Anti-Spell, and then I chained the Twin Twisters to the Anti-Spell to get rid of it and further along my plays. But, you know, this is key to getting rid of problematic spell and trap cards. So that's why I run the double Twin Twisters. And next for the 1-ups, I run the 1 Factory. You can banish a fusion card from your hand to act as a polymerization. From the graveyard, sorry. So you can banish a fusion card from your graveyard for this to be a polymerization. I usually search this with Edgem Chain to go into Fright for Sabretooth and then to Kraken. Also, if this card gets destroyed by a card effect, you can add a Fright for Fusion from your banish zone to your hand. So that's pretty good. Next I run the 1 Dark Hole. If you have Regeki, run the Regeki. Remember, this is like a sort of budget deck, so that's why I run the 1 Dark Hole instead of Regeki. And you always want to go turn 2, so yeah. In fact, one time I normal summoned a Wings, then that Dark Hole, then I resolved Wings effect because I just needed him to be in the graveyard somehow. So, I mean, that has that utility as well. And the next I run the 1 Monster Reborn, also looks really nice and secret, and the Foolish Burial, which has so much utility with the deck, sending the Trick Clown, the Wings, even a Edge-Up card for Fright for Fusion. There's so much you can do with this card, and then Monster Reborn. I really don't need to explain that. But yeah, that's it for the main deck, no traps. And for the extra deck, I run the double Sabretooth. Now, you could run 3, but those are like grind games, and Fluffals don't grind. They just OTK. So running at 2 is fine. This and your Kraken's OTK, it's exactly 8,000. If you use 3 or more fusion materials, this can be indestructible by battle and card effects. So it's really good at stalling. Like, in fact, I played a True Draco player, and he could not get over this straight up. I stalled for however many turns, and then I OTK'd him later. So that's pretty good. Next, I run the Double Tiger, my personal favorite, because he can, for the amount of fusion materials you use, is the amount of cards you can destroy on the field. So keep that in mind. So you can destroy your own Toy Vendor to get a search. You can also, destroy your opponent's, problematic cards and then go for the OTK. And then for each Fluffal or Frightfur monster you control, all Frightfur monsters gain 300 attack, so that's pretty big. Next we run the Double Kraken. He can attack twice. However, if you use his other effect, you can send a monster from your opponent's from the field to the graveyard. So you can send those, problematic monsters that can't be destroyed by card effects or whatever. And then you'll just summon it again with Frightfur Sabretooth, and then you can attack twice, directly. So yeah, so that's pretty good. And then when he attacks at the end of the main phase, you can put it in defense mode. And it has 3,000 defense, so that's pretty good. Next for the one-ups, I run the one wolf and the one sheep. Quite honestly, I'm not too big on sheep. In fact, I was thinking about cutting it, but for turn 1 plays, it's really good. For the Eradicator Virus, it's pretty good. For any decks like Burning Abyss, if you don't want them to resolve their effects, you can attack and they won't get their effects because it's the Armades. And whenever it dies, you can summon it back to gain 800 attack. And yeah, and then the Frightfur Wolf. For however many fusion materials this card you use, this card can attack. So if you use like 4 fusion materials, you can attack 4 times for 8,000 per game. So that's what I want run for the Frightfurs. And then finally for the fusions, I run the one Gem Knight Seraphonite. This card is just so good. Mainly for the extra normal summon, it's also an Earth, so you can go into Mrs. Radiant. Also, it's cool because I had a Toy Vendor in hand. You can use a Brilliant Fusion to pitch the Toy Vendor to gain 2,300 attack, and then get a search with Toy Vendor. I mean, just so much utility with the deck. It's key for your combos and stuff. Next for the XYZs, I run the one Tornado, one Baguska, and one Dweller. This is to stall. This is for decks that heavily use the graveyard, such as Goki Nightmares and Burning Abyss and what have you, even True Dracos. These are my turn 1 plays, and then if they have a lot of back row, you need to go into Tornado Dragon to get rid of it. And then last for the links, I run the one Radiant, the one Decode, and the one Underclock. Radiant, 2 Earths, like a Fluffal Dog, a Fluffal Sheep, or a Seraphonite. Underclock is pretty good because if you need to get rid of your Frightfur Tiger on your extra zone, you can just get rid of it with another monster, and then you can Frightfur Fusion after that. There's just a lot you can do with this, and Decode Talker is just a generic good Link 3, helps prevent from targeting stuff, and yeah. I usually go into Underclock and then another monster to go into the Decode, or maybe Mrs. Radiant, another monster to go into the Decode, so yeah. So that's it for the extra deck, and now for the side. I use your nice Field Center I got from Nats. I run the double Gamma Seal. That's the weakest Kaiju, and that's pretty important, so you can get over it pretty easily. I actually run the double Veiler. Now, people are going to ask, why don't you run any hand traps in your main deck? Reason being is because you do not want to brick, and you need as many pieces as you can to OTK. And also some matchups Effect Veiler is not even good, so you only side it in in certain matchups. So yeah. And then they run the extra Owl for the Anti-Spell Fragrance, and now probably my favorite side deck in this deck, and that's the Call by the Grave. I mean, I'm even thinking about moving this into the main deck. If you get drilled, you lose. If they ash the right card, you kind of lose. So you need to have this, if they play a lot of hand traps. So yeah. And then next I run the one Eradicator Epidemic Virus. If you go first, if you go against Sky Striker, you go into your Sheep, Eradicator, call spells, win the game. That simple. Then for the other viruses, I run the triple Full Force Virus. That's also really good against certain matchups. Distribute that Sheep off and resolve the effect. It's really good. And finally, for your side deck cards, I run the triple Red Reboot. Now this is really good because if they run anti-spell or what have you, like Altergeist, they'll run that one card that negates monster effects. You activate Red Reboot. Who cares if you lose half your life points? They won't be able to activate traps for the rest of the turn, so you don't even have to worry about that. And just continue on with your plays, and hopefully you can OTK them. And it's just that simple. There's so much combos with the deck. You have to think really hard in order to, ensure your OTKs. But the fact that you have to think hard and do your combos, and that's the fun of the game, in my opinion. And it's really satisfying when you use a budget deck to destroy a meta deck. That's also really cool. So anyways, YouTube, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, comments, or what have you, please post it down in the video and smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. Whatever. Just do whatever it takes to help me out. And hopefully you enjoy this deck profile and have a nice day.